and welcome to the DNX podcast. My name is Sylvia Christman, and I'm here today with Natalie Sisson, who I've met several years ago, actually, in Bangkok at one of the DNX conferences. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you can make the time. Where in the world are you right now?
Today I'm coming to you from my own house on my beautiful property in New Zealand. So just about half an hour north of Wellington, which is the capital.
Beautiful. And we were just briefly chatting before our podcast about what you do today versus what you did, a few years ago when I met you. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, talk about a complete life-changing transformation. I think the biggest thing that's always reigned supreme throughout my life is freedom, and freedom on your own terms. So as you know, for 6 years I lived out of my suitcase traveling the world, and then in late 2016 I actually returned back to New Zealand haven't been living here since 2006, and decided to, on the sort of spur of the moment, a few months later, buy this amazing property with my partner. It's like 2.5 acres. So I went from a suitcase to this sort of massive house. It was a bit ridiculous, and kind of flipped my lifestyle completely. So became grounded, got a puppy. We now have 2 puppies. We have chickens. We have this beautiful land. We have a forest nearby that we walk in. And I spend the majority of my time in this house and on this property because it's so beautiful and it's so grounding, and it's just a totally different type of freedom, which is really fascinating. But it certainly was quite a shift in terms of an identity crisis there for a while, which I'm happy to talk about. After living that lifestyle of being a pure digital nomad.
Yeah. What does that mean to you to live a lifestyle by design, and what happens if that design changes?
Great question. I think for me, it always means that your business or your career should support your ideal lifestyle, your perfect lifestyle. So as long as you know what you want to be doing when you wake up in the morning, like what your perfect day looks like, and so long as you're crystal clear on how you want to live your life and what your priorities are, then you get to design your life exactly how you want it. And I always think that freedom and fun and friends and relationships and exercise and well-being and you should come before kind of any of the priorities that come with business and or career. And I don't know why people seem to get that. So I don't know. I mean, I totally get that when you have a full-on business, it can start to take over your life. And we've sort of talked a little bit about burnout and both been there. But it just really surprises me that we as human beings don't take more control of how we want to actually shape our lifestyle and how we want to be living each day, and that we let life kind of control us, or we let circumstances dictate what we're doing rather than us saying, no, this is what I want.
Yeah. So when you realized you didn't want to live out of a suitcase anymore, what were the steps that you took when you towards a new lifestyle that definitely looks different than your mornings now look different than they did when you lived out of your suitcase. So how did you get there?
Yeah, totally. I think there were probably some warning signs around year 5 or 6. Like, don't get me wrong, the first 3, 4, 5 years were just amazing, traveling the world. And I probably did it at such a full-on speed. I know a lot of other people who will stay in one place for half a year or several months, but I started off with a few months here and a few months there, and then I would just bounce around all over the world every couple of days or weeks, which was probably exhausting looking back, but it just became a lifestyle. Like living out of a suitcase, being at the airports, just being constantly on the move was actually my life, and therefore I accepted it and I enjoyed it and loved it. But in 2015, when I popped home, 2000 and, oh my God, there were a few times. 2011, I think I came back to watch some of the rugby World Cup and visit family. And while I was here, I actually had enough money through my business by around that stage to put down a deposit on a house. And I think I was buying the house thinking, in 5 or 6 years from now, I could be in that house. And I rented it out. It was great. It was a good investment. And then I came back again in 2014, and I did the same. I bought this cute little studio in town, and I was like, well, it's good to know, that I had this little studio that I could always fall back on if I wanted to come home. And I feel like I was trying to put down roots without necessarily wanting to stay in those places that I'd actually bought. And then, as you probably know, I was speaking at the DNX event, and I came home like literally the day after I got off the stage, and then I got a call from my sister that my dad was really, really ill. And so basically 2 or 3 days later, I made the trip from Berlin all the way to New Zealand. And unfortunately, he passed away about 3 months later. So during that time, to take some of the emphasis off the fact that he wasn't well and he wasn't going to recover, I ended up buying another apartment. It sounds ridiculous, but when you live out of a suitcase, you save a ton of money.
Yeah.
And also business was going really well. And so I just decided to put it in Passos, and one of those wonderful tax-free digital nomads, as so many people can be when they don't have any abode.
Right.
And yeah, so it was just, I remember buying an apartment then, and I think that was what I actually wanted to live in. And at the time I thought, well, maybe I should stay home. Dad's going to recover. I'd love to be back here and be close. And then I took off again traveling when that didn't happen. And when I came back the next time, actually was when this house got bought. So that was, I guess, the turning point for me, because I'd had all those little moments of building up, going, one day I'd quite like to be grounded or settled or have a really cool base from which to travel. And as well as I do, when you're traveling around all the time, I think the things you miss most is just like a place to keep your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a washing machine. I don't know, I still am so grateful for our laundry. It's crazy because just after all those years of having to traipse around to find washing machines and things, I don't know why the places that I stayed in didn't always have them. And actually, if I forgot a major one, is that when I was in Portugal 2016, running a retreat and a couple of workshops there, and I ended up and playing ultimate frisbee. I ended up buying a little 3-bedroom house there near the surf beaches, and I think by that stage I was definitely putting down roots. So it was a bit ridiculous. So I sort of became the suitcase entrepreneur with all these properties. But all of that really, to me, said that I was definitely keen to put down roots. I just don't think I'd fully recognized it.
Yeah.
And I was starting to say to my friends and community that I was, getting a little tired, because it is actually, when I look back on it now, traveling is one of the most exhausting things, even though it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the jet lag and just the travel time, it's not fully sustainable, especially not at the pace that I was doing. And I just think it was good to recognize that, and also see that my needs were changing, and that I just was really sort of wanting I wouldn't say a quieter life, but a more grounded, more peaceful, more nature-filled outdoor adventure, rather than one full of airports.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a bit more of a slow mad,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I like that.
Yeah, I'm really big on the 60 days in one place, 60 days in the next place. And, I know that I have a lot of travel up and coming in the next month, and there'll be four locations within 1 month. And that to me feels like too much, like me, So I made sure that after those 4, I'm definitely for 60 days in the same location again. Because, yeah, it actually, I agree, it burns you out when you move that much, that fast and that quickly. Yeah. It's 6 years is a long time. Mm-hmm.
There's something about it, though, as well. Like when you're sort of at that pace, you do live life at more, it wasn't like I wasn't relaxing sometimes when I'd go to Thailand or Laos, or that I wasn't enjoying beautiful spots in Europe, but it was just more the sheer amount of decisions that you have to make when you're moving all the time just to organize your life, let alone your business. And I really love the idea of being a slow man. I think it's a much better way. But at the time, I think just because I was moving around so much, it really helped me to get clear on how do you systemize your life? How do you do work when you're on the go all the time? And I became super productive, super systemized, and just really, really good at managing change. And so for that, I'm super thankful, because during that time, I was probably one of the most productive periods in my life. And I thank the pace of life for that. And then I think there's great deep work that comes out of having a slower or just more time to be able to really sink into something that you're doing or your body of work, and really put more time into thought and space around it, rather than having all these other things going on in your head.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. What are the systems that you feel like make you more free?
So many good ones. But essentially for me, having every single major task that I do each week, I create a lot of content, my podcast, my vlog, my emails, and just having a system that allows my small but humble team that's sort of based around the world to delegate that to. So it's like I produce the content, and from there it just gets taken care of. Like I'm at almost 90% automated, and my goal at the end of this month is to be fully automated, so that once it's produced and uploaded into Google Drive and logged in Asana, then everybody else on the team knows their role. And then one of the biggest things that really helped us with that was what I call sexy operating procedures, but they're also called standard operating procedures, which is essentially just these documents that and just basically anybody could pick that document up, even if they didn't know who we were, and follow the steps that say, then you log into this, then you do this, then you cut and paste this, then you grab this link, then you, and it just makes it so much easier. There's kind of no excuse for steps to be missed. And it also means if somebody gets sick or somebody's away, that somebody should be able to come in and just hand over to that. And that's the biggest part for me, has been getting stuff out of my own head and stopping being the bottleneck in my business and allowing and trusting my team to have my back. And that sometimes I'm still the bottleneck, and more I'm saying, please go to somebody else in our team. If you don't hear from me, like, don't assume something's being done. Just go to the person that you need to make the next process work. And that's been one of the biggest things. So Google Drive, Asana, and Slack are pretty much the three main tools that my team and I use, and they work brilliantly. And I try to minimize any other tools that kind of come into it, just so that we're really, really focused.
Oh, you're speaking my language. It's my favorite thing. My processes. I always say that with a little bit of discipline, it comes a whole lot of freedom. My freedom is 100% attached to the fact that I'm actually rather disciplined about everything that I do. I create everything, systems and processes and automation, because I just, it also comes from back in the day when I still worked in the startup world, and we were building companies and, into industries that didn't know what we were doing. We had to write down how it works, what it is, what it means, and create manuals and guidebooks as we discovered what works and what doesn't work. And with that, I think I still do that to this day, that I call it my how-to wiki, like it gets developed as we go, something new, it gets a description sheet of how it works. And then people can come in and out. Yeah, I just think it makes life so much easier. I'm like you, I'm a freedom junkie. And I do think that comes from systems, processes, and discipline. Don't you think?
Absolutely. 100%. I'm always saying that discipline leads to freedom. So I love that you have as well.
Yeah. What are your favorite habits that make you more effective?
Do you know, I've been listening to Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits right now, the audiobook, and I love it. I also have his book, and it's just so interesting after all these years of looking at strengths and doing things like wealth dynamics and Strength Finder 2.0, and really focusing in on what is my zone of genius and what I should be delegating to others that isn't. And it's all about the habits, right? So even if you have the best strengths in the world, if you don't make a habit of consistently strengthening that strength, it's never going to be the thing that takes you further or makes you more successful or achieve more or be happier. So probably my best habits for me at the moment are being really, really diligent. In fact, in the last sort of month, just deleted a ton of apps off my phone. So I'm always looking at ways to just not have distractions. I never have notifications on my phone. I pretty much keep it on Do Not Disturb, and I certainly don't have social media accounts on there anymore, apart from Instagram. And that's made a massive difference to just how often or how little I check my phone now and how I don't rely on it. I'm really, really solid on boundaries. So not being on email, not being on the laptop past 7 p.m. at all, and also definitely not being on email more than twice a day. And I'm just, as I said on the boundaries, like I just won't let people contact me outside of my own hours. I have a pretty awesome schedule, and it starts sort of 6 to 8 in the morning with just meditation, yoga, focus time, and some writing. And I absolutely put in active time in the afternoon between 3 and 5. So that's just like my time to go walk the dogs, go for a run, be in the gym, whatever it is. And I'm just really solid about those. And I see so many other people going, but they needed to meet me now, but they had to have this call at this time, but this was, and I was like, why are you letting them dictate your life? Like I know that there are some times when you might just have to have a call in the evening or the morning because of different time zones, but so many people say, well, I'm on my laptop at 11 at night because that's when my team comes online, or that's when my clients are online. And I'm like, no, there's no need for that to happen this day and age unless it's absolutely critical that you need to be on a call with that person because something wasn't organized in advance. So I think the biggest habits for me are creating boundaries and sticking to them. It's that discipline thing again. Saying no more than yes so that I can say yes to the right things, and really carving out that time in the morning and also afternoon and evening for me where I'm either learning, resting, recharging, or just giving myself some space.
Yeah.
Don't always get it right, but on the days that I'm doing that, I feel like $1 million.
Right. I call it my discipline of imperfection, that Even though I try my best, I don't always get it right, but I aim high every single day. I'm happier when I get there, but I'm less but I'm also okay if I fail. And sometimes I really feel like breaking my own rules. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love it because one thing that I've always said is that for sure discipline gives you freedom, but flexibility is also a real necessity. And if you aren't free enough to just change your plans at the last minute or swap out something that you've been doing or completely change up what you normally do, then I also don't think you have enough freedom in your life. So yeah, I love being a rebel sometimes and going against my own routines. And I think it can be refreshing. And also it leads you to more creativity and different innovations and solutions that you may not have had. But I think there's something about one or two general routines every day that just kind of keep you grounded and do make you perform at an optimum level. And then the other ones, if they're not working for you, I'm constantly tweaking and going, okay. So for example, we were getting up at 6 till 8 and we were doing a meditation and then rolling straight into standing in our standing desks in the study and writing focused for about 25 to 50 minutes. And even though I really like that, I need to move first thing in the morning. Like if I just go and suddenly stand and start working, it doesn't energize me. So I switched that out to doing yoga, even if it was like 10 minutes of full-on sun salutations before doing that. Or I'll now go out for a walk run with the dogs because I'm just like, no, I need to be at my best by moving my body and getting the blood simulated and then listening to podcasts or audio books while I'm out so that I'm starting to really just spark my brain. So I think it's just about the habits and routines that are working for you, great, and the ones that you feel are a bit more of a pain in the ass, that you should be tweaking and improving those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, I hear, I also am somebody that needs to move her body first thing in the morning. I actually sometimes need to move it before I meditate. It's just works for me better. So when I was in Mexico a few months ago, I would just get on my bicycle first thing, right to the beach, jump in the water, and then sit and meditate. And I loved it. It was perfect, because I had that time to just move my muscles, change my thoughts, get in the right mindset, and then kind of go from there. I don't like getting up and meditating. I get more out of my meditation if I move my body first, for sure, But, every each their own. Yeah. What were you saying?
I said I'm definitely still playing with that because I know there's walking meditations, there's movement meditations, there's be super still. And I think if they were longer than sort of 10 to 15 minutes, I probably also would want to be doing that. So it's good to hear that you do that. And once again, it's like yourself best. That's the thing that gives you the spark, that gives you the impetus, that makes the morning amazing.
Yeah. And I'm a long-term yogi. And so I've practiced Ashtanga for most of my adult life. And that's really I used to get up at 5:30, 6 a.m. every day to just go straight to my practice and do that. I stopped that over the years. I don't do that anymore. But when I'm in New York, I try to plug back into that habit. But I could definitely tell that I just don't feel like it. The last couple of days, I've just been like, oh, I don't feel like it. But I went anyway, because when I'm done, I feel great. It's like sometimes you just even bring your D game as long as you just kind of get there, I think. And not even because I know at the end of it, I will feel great.
I always think I feel like $1 million after yoga, so why don't I do it every single day? But I do think there's something about having, little mini breaks or even a day or two and just coming back to it and being even more grateful for it.
Yeah. 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 And, it depends on how much you practice. You can definitely in yoga, in my practice, I can tell what I ate before, how I slept, if I have this bad coffee habit that my body does not like coffee at all. And I like drinking it. So I can tell when I had coffee the next day, I'll be all achy and everything hurts, you can tell, when you let your inner sloth get away with things, you'll know the next day. And it's just a question of what you're willing to put up with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the end of our time. If people are trying to find you, should they go to your website? What do you have up and what do you have coming up that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I'd love for them to come say hi at nataliesisson.com. I'm pretty much Natalie Sisson everywhere, like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And what I have coming up later this year, I'm really excited, is my second book, The Freedom Plan, ironically. So we talk about a lot of what you and I have kind of discussed today. And it's all about basically how do you design your business to support your ideal lifestyle, and the 3 stages that I've learned to do that over the years. So I'm really excited about that. That's a wee way away, but obviously the build up to any book starts a lot earlier than most people think. And so for me, it's just about getting back on the content bandwagon, really, and starting to really refine and hone the messages that are in that book and spreading them out through the world so that more people can have businesses that they love and the lifestyles that they deserve.
Amazing. That sounds great. I can't wait for that to come out. Please make sure that you tell us when it comes out so we can put the word out for it as well. For everyone listening, thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to our iTunes channel yet, please do so. If you can, please leave a review. We would love that. And if you want to leave a question in the review, I will answer your questions live online. And you can always reach out to me as well. I'm always happy to hear from you. Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your ongoing support. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Please go check out dnxcommunity.com. This is where you'll find the other nomads and evaders of convention. We'll see you there. And if you're interested in our English-speaking events, go and check out dnxglobal.com. You'll find the link below this podcast as well. And if you have time, one last favor, please go to iTunes, look for Sylvia Chrisman or look for the DNX podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much, lovely people, and I'll talk to you next time.